Hi, in this week's episode, I'm going to talk to you about 5 mistakes that most riders make in Roadcraft and how we can fix it. Stay tuned. Hi folks, Carl here from Let's Ride Bike, the Advanced Riding Academy. Now first off, I need to apologise. I recorded this video talking to camera and the light kept changing ridiculously, so it made it really difficult to try and edit my face and background into something what was watchable. So instead I've replaced the original footage with just some bike footage. Hope you don't mind that too much, but it was either do that or wait till another day till I could record it in better conditions. Anyway, moving on. Roadcraft. It's often described as the police rider's handbook, and for good reason. It's the foundation of advanced riding used by police motorcyclists throughout the UK, and it's influenced organisations such as the IAM and RoSPA for decades. The paramedics use it, the fire service use it, and I think most people in the UK use it who are doing any fleet training or things like that. But here's the interesting thing. After many years as a police class 1 motorcyclist, an advanced instructor, an instructor trainer, bike safe assessor and coordinator, an edge trained assessor, I've found that many riders who have heard of Roadcraft, and even some who have read the book, still must misunderstand some of its most important principles. And these aren't beginner mistakes. In fact, they're often mistakes made by experienced riders. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 Roadcraft mistakes that I see riders making again and again, and I'll explain why they happen, and more importantly, show you how to fix them, or tell you how to fix them. Because once you understand these principles properly, your riding becomes smoother, safer, and surprisingly less tiring. So let's get started. So mistake number 1. Treating IPSGA like a checklist. So one of the biggest misunderstandings about Roadcraft is the system of motorcycle control. Information, position, speed, gear, acceleration, or, as people call it, IPSGA. And many riders learn the acronym and then try to follow it mechanically, almost like they're reading a shopping list. Information, tick. Position, tick. Speed, tick. And so on. But that's not how the system works. Roadcraft was never intended to be a rigid checklist. It's a flexible framework for managing hazards. And the danger comes when riders become so focused on following the sequence that they stop thinking about what's actually happening around them. And I've read it on comments, what people have left on here, and I've read it on comments on other YouTube videos where people have said that, oh, they started taking advanced training, but they stopped it because it was too rigid. And I don't think that it was too rigid. I think that the people who was taking the training, or the instructors, probably wasn't explaining it clearly enough, in that it is a flexible framework for managing hazards and not a checklist. So let's imagine approaching a roundabout. You're gathering information before you reach it, but you should stop gathering information once you've selected a position. I'll rephrase that. But should you stop gathering information once you've selected a position? Of course not. You continue gathering information all the way through the manoeuvre and beyond. You may need to adjust your position. You might need to change your speed. You may even need to revisit earlier parts of the system. And that's what's so good about Roadcraft, and when you apply it properly, the process is dynamic. It's constantly flowing. The best riders don't think about IPSGA as 5 separate stages. We use it as a continuous decision-making process. And a phrase I often use is this: You don't ride the system, you use the system to ride, and that's an important distinction. So mistake number 2, positioning too early. Now, positioning is one of the most powerful tools available to a rider. Used correctly, it can improve your vision, increase safety margins, and make your riding smoother. Used incorrectly, it can actually create problems. A common mistake is moving into a chosen position far too early. For example, let's say you're approaching a left-hand bend. You know that moving slightly towards the centre line can improve your view through the corner. That's good roadcraft. But some riders make the move hundreds of metres before the bend. Now they're riding close to the centre line unnecessarily. They've reduced the safety margin, they're exposed to oncoming vehicles for longer than necessary, and they may even be encouraging other drivers to misunderstand their intentions. Roadcraft teaches us that position should be adopted when it's needed, not before. Position's not about looking advanced, it's about gaining a genuine advantage. If a position doesn't improve your vision, your safety, your stability, then you're probably not in the right position. Remember, position is not where you sit, it's where you gain the greatest advantage. So mistake number 3, using brakes instead of planning. Now this one is incredibly common. Many riders become very skilled at braking, but surprisingly poor at planning. Now don't get me wrong, brakes are essential. Where would we be without brakes? But good braking is a vital riding skill. Ideally, the majority of your speed adjustments should come from planning and observations, not emergency reactions. So let's imagine you're approaching a village. You can already see the speed limit signs, you can see parked vehicles, you can see pedestrians. You know your speed will need to reduce. A rider using good roadcraft begins planning early. The throttle comes off, just roll it off nice and steady. Speed reduces progressively. Your bike remains stable, everything feels smooth, and it's a lot more comfortable ride. A rider who plans poorly often arrives too fast. Then they're grabbing a handful of brake at the last minute, back wheels off the floor because they think they're going to get a speeding ticket, they've gone into the 30s doing 60, they panic. The result, it's harsh inputs, reduced stability, more workload, more stress. One of the key principles taught during police riding is that good observation creates time, and time creates options. The earlier you can identify a developing situation, the less dramatic your response needs to be. Which leads me to one of my favourite sayings: the best braking is often the braking you never needed. Now, one of the things I used to practice a hell of a lot, and I still practice to this day because it's one of the things what you need to keep on top of. Let's say you're driving along in a national speed limit road, you're doing 60 miles an hour, and up ahead you can see there's street lights. Let's assume we're in a country road, there's no street lighting. You see street lights ahead. That's straight away telling you you're coming into a built-up area. You're going to expect a reduction in the speed limit. You get a little bit further, you can see the speed limit signs. Let's say in this instance we're dropping down to a 40. What I used to love practicing doing, and I still do it, is I'll see the 40, and then without any input on the bike whatsoever, so no brakes, no gear changing, just using acceleration sense, I just roll the throttle off and I come in and I let the bike slow down and I hit the speed limit sign, the 40s, at exactly 40. And I used to practice doing that a lot, and I was quite proud that I could do it probably 99 times out of 100, regardless of what speed I was travelling at. As long as I'd seen the signs, which is what observations are all about. But you see the signs, you roll that throttle off and come in and try and get it at the speed limit when you come in. And practice that the next time you're out. And you'll be surprised, the first time you do it, you might be miles off. But within a few attempts at doing it, you'll get it near on every time. And if it's something you practice, you will get it every time. And it's something to be proud of. You've just developed your acceleration sense. So, mistake number 4, looking at hazards instead of information. So as human beings, we naturally focus on threats. It's in our DNA, we can't help it. But unfortunately, when we're riding a motorcycle, this can work against us. So let's say a rider spots a vehicle waiting at a junction on the left hand side. They immediately lock their attention onto that vehicle, which is good, they've picked out the hazard. That vehicle is important. But what now happens is that the field of vision narrows. They stop processing the wider picture. They miss opportunities, or they miss other information. The condition of the road, the behaviour of vehicles behind, escape routes, pedestrians. Did they notice little Johnny just running from the offside between those two parked cars chasing his dog? They miss the escape routes. Changes in traffic flow. Roadcraft isn't about staring at hazards. It's about gathering information from everywhere. And like I said on the first mistake, that information stage is being updated every millisecond. You've got to be aware of what's happening around you as well as just what's in front of you. And the hazard is only one piece of the puzzle. When you ride, ask yourself, what can I see? What might happen? What are my options? What information am I missing? What can I reasonably expect to happen? And that's a far more powerful mindset than simply focusing on what looks dangerous. And another phrase worth remembering is, don't just look at the problem, look for the solution. So mistake number 5, confusing progress with speed. And this is probably the most misunderstood concept in advanced riding. Many riders hear the word progress and assume it means riding fast. And it's far from that. Progress is not about speed. Progress is efficient use of available opportunities. It's about maintaining momentum, maintaining flow, minimising unnecessary delay, but doing so safely. And I've seen riders charge from bend to bend, and we've all been out riding with them. They accelerate hard, they brake hard, they overtake everything that's moving, sometimes when it's not safe to do so. They're working incredibly hard all the time. And then they arrive at the destination only a minute or two ahead of a rider who's been smooth, relaxed, systematic and safe. Roadcraft doesn't reward aggression, it rewards planning. The smooth rider often makes better use of vision, better use of positioning, better use of observation, and as a result, they maintain progress naturally, without drama, without stress, and without taking unnecessary risks. Which rider are you? Remember, progress isn't about arriving fast, it's about arriving efficiently. As soon as you've got this far, here's a little bonus section, the biggest Roadcraft secret. If you've watched this far, here's something many people never realise. Roadcraft isn't really about cornering, it isn't really about braking, and it isn't really about overtaking. Those things are simply tools. At its heart, Roadcraft is about observations, planning, decision making, risk management, and the motorcycle simply follows the decisions you make. Get the thinking right and the riding becomes much easier. Get the thinking wrong and no amount of bike control will completely compensate. So let's quickly recap. The 5 Roadcraft mistakes most riders make are: 1. Treating IPSGA like a checklist. 2. Positioning too early. 3. Using brakes instead of planning. 4. Looking at hazards instead of information. And 5. Confusing progress with speed. The good news: every single one of these can be improved immediately simply by becoming more aware of them. You don't need a new motorbike, you don't need expensive equipment, you just need to think differently about the ride. Now I'd like to hear from you. Which of these mistakes do you think is the most common? Or is there another Roadcraft mistake that you see riders making regularly? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel and share it with another rider who might benefit. It helps the algorithm and it gets it out to more people, and that's what we're wanting to do, is get the word out to more people to make more people safer and better riders. And if you'd like to take your riding even further, check out the links below where you'll find information about riding assessments, training resources and our Patreon community. So until next time, ride safe, ride smooth, and let's ride bikes.